All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I want to start off by acknowledging what a tough loss it was for us this past weekend against the Titans. We had a chance to close out the game at the end, and we just didn't get it done, and that's going to sting for a little while. However, at this point, both the team and the entire organization are looking forward, and the goals that we set out for ourselves at the beginning of the season are still in front of us. Taking a step in the right direction starts with our game in Mexico this weekend against a division rival. We're looking forward to heading down to Mexico City and getting to play the Chargers in prime time on Monday night.
That was Chiefs part owner, CEO, and chairman Clark Hunt. He traditionally holds a news conference once during the regular season with local media, and that was today, Wednesday, November 13th. Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Star's daily sports podcast presented by Big O Tires. Columnists Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian joined me, Blair Kerkhoff, to discuss what Hunt had to say. I thought his most interesting comments involved what future NFL seasons might look like in terms of a reduced preseason with an additional regular season game, perhaps at an international site. So let's hear more from Hunt, and then we'll take a break, and on the other side, we'll be back with Vahe and Sam.
Are you sure the field is okay down there?
We are sure, yes.
What have you done like to ensure that?
So our field staff has been in contact with the league, who's been in contact with the representatives in Mexico City who've been taking care of the field. It's a completely different field, and it's in much better condition than it was last year.
Clark, you had mentioned, I think, last year, the sort of the desire to make sure that the team played at some point in Mexico City. Can you just explain sort of the conversations between you and the league in terms of figuring out if this year was the right year and why you wanted to get back so quickly?
I was hopeful that we would have a chance to go to Mexico City. I think all the international games are very important for the league, and they're also important for the Chiefs from a branding standpoint. I frankly did not expect that we would be going to Mexico City so fast. It was not something that we lobbied the league for. When I looked at our schedule, I didn't think it would work out from a scheduling standpoint. And I guess at the end of the day, the Chargers were willing to give up a home game to play down there, even though we're a division team.
Do you have any thoughts about one of the things that's been kicked around a little bit is the 17th game and everybody plays an international game? You've been on the committee, obviously. Do you have any thoughts about that?
It's something that we've discussed for probably 10 years, going back to the CBA negotiations in 2011, and it is part of the discussions in this current round of CBA talks. I do think it's something that the league needs to seriously consider. I think reducing the preseason is something that everybody would be in favor of, replacing a game, perhaps two, with one regular season game. And if you did that, you would have an odd number of games with 17. So one thought is that you could play at least some of those games in a neutral site, and obviously internationally is one place that we could do it. So it would give the league more inventory to play more international games.
The league obviously voted for the offensive pass interference being reviewed and defensive pass interference. What's your assessment of it so far as we enter the second half of the season? Is it working? Is it need more tweaking?
I definitely think it's a learning experience for everybody involved with the league. I've seen the statistics that show the very few times that the coaches are being successful in their challenges, particularly once we got past the first two games of the season. It doesn't seem like too many of the challenges are successful. I'm sure that's something that will be discussed at the end of the season. The competition committee will spend some time on it and probably make some changes for next year.
Tony Romo is the latest analyst to compare Pat to Michael Jordan. You saw plenty of Bulls jerseys all over the country in the 90s. Does Pat afford you, in your eyes, the opportunity to make the Chiefs like a national and global brand?
Well, it's certainly a goal for us to grow our fan base, and when you have a successful team, that helps, and obviously when you have a star player, that also helps. Our family was and still is with the Chicago Bulls, so we got to live through that experience with Michael Jordan and see it firsthand. That was a special time for the Bulls organization, and Michael did a lot to grow their brand not only nationally but on an international basis, and I think certainly to some degree Patrick gives us that same opportunity.
There's been some sort of suggestion or some, I guess, assumption from both the organization and from Patrick contract extension with you. Are you, I guess, comfortable or expecting to make Patrick, if not one of the most high-paid players in the league moving forward after this season?
Well, we're certainly excited about the opportunity to extend Patrick's stay with the Chiefs and hope that lasts his entire career. It's probably a little bit premature to be talking about a new contract. Everyone knows the first opportunity we'll have to re-sign him will come at the end of this season. But that's a decision that we'll have to make with his representatives, whether this is the right time or perhaps a year from now.
20 is still 4 years away, but where are you right now as far as draft preparations and those topics?
Yeah, well, I'll mention once again how excited we are to have the draft coming to Kansas City. It's something that we worked on as an organization, and also a lot of people in Kansas City helped us make that happen. And it's going to be an incredible event, maybe the biggest event ever in Kansas City. So I'm really looking forward to it. Since the season got going, we haven't really been involved in any discussions about preparations. That's something that will probably kick up here in the next year or so.
One of the main conversation in the storylines throughout the offseason is how Mahomes would handle the success he had last year, and now it's how he's going to handle the injury and kind of coming back. Just what have you even learned from him? Is how he's kind of gone through the first part of the season, and how kind of he worked his way through that injury along with Rick and everyone else.
Yeah. Well, before he got hurt, I thought he picked up right where he left off, not only in his play but also in his leadership. He was probably in a better position from a leadership standpoint, having had last year behind him. And really the team sort of galvanizing around him. I thought he did a great job during training camp all the way early in the season. Getting hurt is tough for any professional athlete. It's hard to be on the sideline. It's hard particularly when you're a leader and you're not playing. I thought he handled that well. I think we all saw what he did on the sideline to encourage his teammates along, including going out and congratulating Harrison after he made that kick to win the game against Minnesota. So he's done a fantastic job. I hate to say that we expected at this point, but we really do. He's a fantastic young man and a really outstanding leader.
The league has had this thing coming up this Saturday, I guess, with Colin Kaepernick. They're having an open pro day, I guess, as it were. How are you guys going to handle that? Will you send someone to this workout?
I haven't had a chance to speak with Brett about it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if he sent someone, because Brett likes to turn over every stone. We're in a pretty good spot from a quarterback standpoint with 4 on the roster right now, but Brett does like to be really thorough in his due diligence.
You said a couple of years ago.
Reaction to the intent to hold that workout on behalf of the league?
So I read the release from the league yesterday, and I had not been part of any discussion with the league about that happening. So I was probably as surprised as anybody.
Well, a couple of years ago, you had said that you wouldn't have any hesitation if your coaches wanted to have Colin be a part of the team. Was there ever anything, because you guys have signed some backups here in the last couple of years, was there ever any discussions at any level with the Chiefs, with he or his representation?
Not that I'm aware of, and it's not something that Andy or Brett ever brought to me.
Would 3 years outside of football hamper his ability to come into an existing club and perhaps contend for a backup spot in your estimation?
It's something I really can't speak to. I think every player and every situation is different. This workout will probably go part of the way towards answering that question, and that's probably why he and his representatives wanted to do it.
Well, you had mentioned before during the draft just sort of the situation that the team was in with Tyreek Hill. Obviously, that sort of resolved itself as we got to the offseason. You guys gave him a contract extension. Just here's sort of the thought process of giving him that extension at the time before the season started, or just what you see once he came back to the team.
We obviously had some level of comfort with the information that we received about the investigation and what Tyreek was doing to make himself a better man, a better husband, and a better father. As we looked at the season, we thought it was important to try to get Tyreek done early in the year. We were able to reach an agreement with his representatives that rewards Tyreek for the quality of play that we've seen from him over the last 3+ years, but also one that protects the organization, and that was really what the catalyst that led to that getting done.
Clark, the Chiefs, as you know, haven't had a first-round pick now for a couple of years. Now, release the first of those 2 trades. I know you'd make any day for sure, but just wondering whether the organization's philosophy about draft picks, and particularly first-round draft picks, has changed at all in recent years.
Yeah, well, I think you've seen that Brett Veach is very aggressive, and he's willing to make moves, whether it's through the draft, through free agency, or through trades that he thinks will make us a better football team. We certainly still value draft picks as an organization. I do believe over time that's the best way to build your football team, but it's also not the only way to build your football team.
What about Chris Jones? I mean, is there any progress there?
There have been ongoing discussions with Chris's representatives. As I mentioned in the preseason, we're very hopeful that we can extend Chris's contract and bring him back to Kansas City for many years to come. He's obviously a fantastic player, a great guy in the locker room, and we're glad to have him part of the Chiefs.
You like what you see on the field this year with him when he was healthy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's played extremely well. He's transitioned to the new defensive scheme, I think, very well, and has been a part of the success that we've had in improving the defense.
Pete asked you about the branding, like nationally and internationally.
Yeah.
From a football point of view, how does that guy, like at that position, how does that change urgency or just the structure and stuff of how you build the team?
Well, I think it's no secret that in the National Football League, to win championships, you need somebody very special at the quarterback position. We've had some outstanding players here over the years, but I don't think we've had one like Patrick Mahomes in a very long time. And so having him as the Chiefs quarterback really gives us an opportunity every year to be competitive and hopefully compete for an AFC championship and ultimately a Super Bowl. So I think it's really an exercise in building the team around him. That's sort of the mentality that you have every year. He's the centerpiece, and you build the team around him within the constraints of the salary cap.
Given the magnitude of his work, did you weigh into the conversation about when to bring him back and just how cautious to play that?
It was an issue that we discussed thoroughly, but at the end of the day, we left it to the doctors and our training staff. We're lucky to have a great medical team, and we wanted them to be comfortable with when he came back on the field. I think you guys spoke to him, and he mentioned that he wanted to get right back out there, including during the Denver game. He felt he could have played against Green Bay and certainly Minnesota the following week, but our medical staff wanted to be more cautious with him, and at the end of the day, I think that was the right decision.
During the Broncos game, when you saw him get hurt at the Broncos game, and what was your just like roller coaster? Because I'm sure they told you very quickly that there was nothing really wrong with his knee, but what were just the first feeling you felt when you saw him laying down on the ground?
Yeah, it was probably like every Chiefs fan. I was in disbelief and very, very concerned. We were a long ways away from the field, and so I couldn't really see. But once I saw some of the images on TV, you could tell something wasn't right with his leg, but it wasn't fully evident what it was. So very, very concerned that he was lost for the season and perhaps beyond that. And later on, when we learned that it wasn't as serious, although we didn't know all the answers at that point because without the MRIs and so forth, they didn't know whether there was any additional damage. We did feel better about that. I guess the one encouraging thing is as he was walking off the field, as he got closer to the tunnel, he started walking on his own. And if it had been a significant injury, I don't think he would have been able to do that.
Couple more, guys.
Like, I don't remember you ever being quite as optimistic or buoyant as you were this preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, things the last 6 weeks or so haven't gone exactly how anybody expected. What gives you the confidence that optimism is still founded?
Well, I believe we've got an outstanding football team with a great coaching staff, and I think as they continue to work better as we head towards hopefully a playoff opportunity, I think the team's going to continue to improve. I mentioned at the beginning of the season that one of the most important narratives this year was the improvement of the defense and how that took place during the season. I personally didn't expect that we would start off with a finished product, and I've been very encouraged by what I've seen this past weekend, notwithstanding. I do think the defense is improving. With Patrick back and now getting more of our offensive starters back, I think the offense can be at least as good as it was last year, if not better. And you put that together, and that gives you a chance to win a Super Bowl.
Look, do you have a relationship with John Sherman at all? And have you been in touch with him recently about
Yeah, so I've known John for about 15 years. He's somebody I've gotten to know through various business groups in Kansas City, somebody that I think highly of. I think the city is very, very fortunate to have somebody of John's character and somebody who loves the city as much as he does buying the Royals. We've had a few conversations about it. It's obviously not official yet, but once it is, I'm sure we'll sit down and talk with him, given that we're going to be neighbors here at the sports complex.
Last one, Karen.
You have a great medical staff, great training crew, they're wonderful. But do you get concerned when you see all these injuries? You ask the guys like, what's going on? Do we need to do some changes or whatever? Because you guys have had so many injuries, more than I can remember in recent years.
We definitely have had a very tough year, particularly if you look back over the last 5 or 6 weeks. We've played a lot of these games without as many as 6 starters, which is very difficult. I have tremendous trust in Rick Burkholder and his staff, and they do a good job. And I think if you asked our coaches or the players themselves, they'll tell you this is as fine a medical team as you can have in the National Football League. I just think sometimes that you literally have bad luck with injuries, and sometimes you have good luck. When you have good luck, you assume it's because you're doing some things right, and when you have bad luck, you start looking for some reasons why it may be going the other way. But at the end of the day, I just think it's a cycle we're going through, and hopefully we'll get out of it in time for the playoffs.
Big O Tires is rolling out Black Friday deals now to December 8th. Get limited-time Black Friday savings on oil changes, brakes, car batteries, and more. You'll also save big on tires. How big? Buy 3 select tires, get 1 free with paid installation, including brands like Nitto and Cooper. Get 4 tires, but pay for only 3. Right now at Big O Tires during Black Friday deals only through December 8th. Interest-free financing available too. For your nearest participating location, go to bigotires.com.
Hey, it's Blair. Hey, we have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns we have to offer. And it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. For your convenience, your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. A lot of subscription services won't tell you that. They'll just sneak it on there. We just told you. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. So that was Clark Hunt, Chiefs CEO, and some interesting stuff there, I thought. To me, you know, look, we've known that that Chris Jones they've been talking to Chris Jones for a while, and we know he wants Patrick Mahomes back and in a Chiefs uniform for the rest. There's some, you know, some not so kept secrets here but questions that needed to be asked, because unlike some other owner types, we get Clark Hunt once a year during the regular season. Let's start there, actually. Look, I don't expect Clark Hunt to be Jerry Jones and be in the locker room after every game, but it kind of would be nice to have the owner of the franchise to be available more than, you know, once at midseason, and then maybe 3 times during the year.
It's basically it's training camp. It's usually sometime around the middle of the season. It's when and if they clinch a playoff spot, and then. What's the other one? He does it at the Super Bowl.
Does he
talks
to
at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, whoever travels to the Super Bowl.
And that might be it. Everyone, you know, like, you know, if there's something going on, like when he had been the owner for 10 years, you know, I got 15 minutes with him or whatever. But he stays quiet. And I think some of that is just his natural personality. He's not a gregarious guy. I don't think he's comfortable in that role. I don't think he likes it. I don't think he cares about it all that much. And it also fits his leadership style. He's a delegator, you know. I think he sees his role as not just caretaker. That sounds like he doesn't care about it as much, but it's more, I'm going to hire football people and then I'm going to let those football people make football decisions. And I will be a sounding board, and I will ask them questions to make sure about their thought processes and stuff like that. But I'm not here to decide like what play we're calling on 2nd and long or whatever. And so I think that all goes together, and that's why he's a little bit quieter than I think a lot of owners.
And in fairness, I should say that when there has been a need for him to speak, I'm thinking Tyreek Hill, Marcus Peters, the anthem thing a couple years ago. He did talk. I remember it was outside the locker room at one of those games a couple years ago with Marcus Peters. I don't know if that was the scheduled midseason.
It was. I think that was the one in Dallas. It was in Dallas, as it turned out.
Okay.
And I think it was. But look,
the timing was okay.
Yeah. One quick, into your point, in fairness, I mean, certainly a gentleman, right? I mean, and
for sure,
pleasant, but not warm. I mean, you just don't feel like you ever really get a chance to get inside. And the thing I wanted to mention just briefly in this is it's hard to understand what the strategy really is in some ways. The for instance I was going to give was being in Canton for the Hall of Fame this year and basically not being allowed to talk to Clark Hunt and actually being told by the Chiefs at an event for Johnny Robinson that Clark's toast was off the record, which was silly.
Toast was off the record.
Toast was off the record, but that also I wasn't allowed to talk to him about his two players from his franchise going into the Hall of Fame. Just seems self-defeating and silly. Now, part of this was also that, and this is a longer discussion sometime that I have no business going into right now, but I am. Part of that was that the Chiefs wanted to save the toast to release themselves. So the dilemma of off the record versus we want to release it ourselves was a little confusing to me in the moment, and I didn't feel like engaging in a big discussion with poor Johnny Robinson's son standing right next to me. Just wanted to see his dad be honored, so I just stepped back and didn't use the toast.
I think it should be known that, Vahe, you were a force in rekindling the Johnny Robinson into the Hall of Fame campaign with a trip to Louisiana at his home, and you certainly, at the very least, created an awareness, or at least rekindled an awareness of Johnny Robinson. And lo and behold, he was voted into the Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee.
Absolutely.
Well, I did begin to take it personally once I got to know Johnny. I just felt like this is unjust and what a great man. But I do want to say with clarity that a guy named Todd Tobias, an AFL historian, kind of planted the thought out there and started to, gather forces for it. And I was, in a fortunate position to be able to try to amplify it.
You're right. The whole idea of a Chiefs moment being, I don't know the best way to describe it, but contained to a Chiefs release, a Chiefs media release. That is, we'll let the journalism schools discuss that. None of us like it, of course, but it is part of the duties these days. It's part of the job that you have to confront ideas like this.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's not what today's about. We're talking about what Clark Hunt had to say today, and I thought going through some of his thoughts that the shape of future NFL seasons is really interesting to me. Number of regular season games versus number of preseason games. He's going to have a say on this and an influence, I think, on how NFL seasons unfold. And I think everybody's in agreement that we're going to see fewer preseason games and maybe more regular season games. What were his thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he is not uniquely positioned, but interestingly positioned on this because, he's in the circle of trust with Roger Goodell, and, he's in kind of a smaller group of owners that have some influence. He's also, and now I can't remember, is he still chair of the International Committee?
I don't know if he still is, but he certainly has been at a key time in its work.
And the international games have worked, Nobody likes it when their teams give up home games for it, but as a revenue producing mechanism, which is basically all the NFL cares about. It's been a wild success, and he was asked by a charming sports writer today. He was asked how he felt about, there's been talk of knocking off 2 preseason games and then adding a 17th game that would be internationally, and he basically and I've told you guys both this off air, but Clark Hunt is just so monotone and even and doesn't give you much, that when he just gives you a crumb, it's like, oh my God, he feels strongly about this, and he seemed to feel strongly to me. What he said about that was pretty much, yes, I want this to happen. It'll be part of the upcoming CBA negotiation. I believe the CBA is up after next season. And what's interesting to me about that, though, is that this never happens. The NFL players never have leverage, and I think they have leverage in this one particular part because the owners have made it known, at least some influential ones like Clark and others, that they want to add a 17th game. They also need to at least pretend to be, to care about player safety. The players know this. So, okay, adding a 17th game, you better knock off 2 preseason games. I think they can get an extra buy out of it. And I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. I don't know how the math would work, but I don't know any reason why they shouldn't try to get a higher percentage of the revenue from that 17th game. If they're the ones putting their bodies on the line.
Would that, in that model, sorry, Blair, but in that model, trying to think of how that would shrink wrap or not shrink wrap the whole season, from the start of the season, if there were just 2 preseason games, would it call for a shorter camp?
I don't know. I don't know how those mechanics would work. I wouldn't think so, because I don't think the purpose of camp has never been to prepare for those preseason games.
Right.
But maybe, I don't know. I don't think it would. Another interesting part of that is what it does to just the schedule, as far as, so you're actually taking away a game in,
It's 20 games now.
Yeah.
Right? 4 preseason games and 16 regular season games.
Yeah.
We're talking about a 19 game
Yep.
season.
So would you want to keep the same Super Bowl on the back end? And I think that they like starting the season that first week of September. I think there's something about, sort of that week that they like the regular season. So then if you keep, that Thursday night opener and the Sunday night game that they want to have, kind of marquee events for the league, it actually works out on the back end, because if you do add another bye, now the Super Bowl is the Sunday before President's Day, which, gives everybody the Super Bowl Monday hangover,
long weekend
holiday that a lot of people, including me, have wanted for a long time. So I mean, it would change the schedule. I mean, just the way that our rhythms work in sports, right? College basketball would get nudged out.
It feels
for
squeezed. There'd be a squeeze on college basketball for sure.
And I actually think, I mean, there's a whole different conversation, a different show perhaps, but it wouldn't hurt to. I think there's some advantages in pushing college basketball back.
Oh, brother!
Yeah, well, you're preaching to the choir on this. Yeah,
right. A college basketball season that started earlier than ever this year.
Yeah,
and you can tell how early college basketball season started by the quality.
Oh my gosh.
Of the games that we've seen so far, the sloppiness
horrendous.
of these games. I'm really interested in the idea of the 17th game being an international game, which means nobody's giving up a home game.
Yep.
And everybody's going to have to go to Mexico or London or Toronto, wherever. The places where the NFL has played these games before, Berlin, who knows what.
He mentioned Berlin. He mentioned China. Did he mention Tokyo? I think he mentioned Japan.
I know that there have been preseason games in the Chiefs have played in Tokyo back in the 90s. China, I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, I also like the idea of now every team has to participate in one of those, not just the Jacksonville Jaguars every single year. We're the Chiefs this year going to Mexico City. So, you can probably, with the extra bye week, you can work that into teams coming back from a European or Asian trip and being off that next week. So I think there's a lot of sense to be made of this.
We don't think about football the same way as we maybe do about baseball, about the uniformity of statistics and how that affects whatever it's home run numbers or whatever you want to think of it, the football equivalent would be. Is there anything damaged do you think, by that, or so what? I mean, we don't know what 50 touchdown passes means in a 17-game season.
You know what's weird is I feel like I'm kind of a sap and a traditionalist in a lot of ways with baseball, and not at all with football.
Yeah.
Those numbers, whatever the quote unquote steroid era, did to home run records and some numbers in baseball, I think the same thing has happened in football times 10. I already don't know how can you compare, Patrick Mahomes' passing statistics with Lynn Dawson, for instance. The game has changed already so much. I don't know. Maybe some people would, but I wouldn't see that as a big deal.
And part of what you said made me think of this, and probably applies more to Blair and me than you, just because of our ages. But I mean, maybe because we've already lived in the shift from 14 to 16 in our lifetime, it's sort of like, it's nothing's uniform anyway.
Yep.
Right. No, that's right.
Yep.
Anyway, I to me that was the most interesting thing that I heard today from Clark.
Me too.
And because it has everything else we talk about are, like I said, contracts of players. What else is he going to say, right?
Yeah, I mean, we know that they're talking to Chris Jones.
Yeah.
We know
they want Patrick Mahomes in a Chiefs uniform for the rest of his
yeah, that was a
life.
revelation.
Yeah.
Somebody asked him about Tyreek Hill, and he basically said, and as far as the contract, and he basically said, we had more information. We were comfortable with the information we had, something like that, and we wanted to find something that rewarded him for how good he is, but still protected the team. But that was kind of what was said at the time. It's weird. I mean, it's not 2012. The mid-season address from Clark Hunt in 2012.
God, I wasn't covering the team, but that would be gruesome.
There was a lot of stuff to go over. I could have got 4 columns out of that.
I was going to say that was before Javon Belcher.
Yeah. This one, it's. They want to build around Patrick Mahomes. They want to win more games. It was pretty steady.
All right, we'll talk more about the Chiefs tomorrow from Big O Tires. This one in Olathe, but let's just spend a minute. It seems to me that the lingering question from the Tennessee game was the 3rd and 2 call, and I've just heard a lot of opinion about it. I don't know what to think, except Maybe once in a while the play calling genius that is Andy Reid, and he absolutely is.
For sure.
Schemer, designer, game planner, whatever you want to call it. Maybe doesn't call the right play at the right time every single time. And I think this may have been an example of that.
I agree. With everything that you said, I think that this may be like too far into the weeds. I think he's an absolutely brilliant play designer. As a play caller, I think he's very good. But I think
I like the distinction there.
I think there's a gap there.
Yeah, it's a great distinction, actually.
Look, like the disclaimers with that 3rd and 2 call include they iced the Baltimore win, and that was a 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 10.
I think it was 3rd and 8.
And it went 14. It was that screen to the right side to Darrell Williams. And that was similar to this call. And they've run a similar play to this before and had some success with it. And also, let's just admit this right up front. If the play worked, we're talking about something else right now, right?
Oh, for sure.
But I didn't like the call for a few reasons. One, they were running the ball really well, and I thought that the same way that the Chiefs were gassed, the Chiefs defense was gassed on their last possession. I thought the Titans were in a similar situation. They're just physically, it looked like body language that they were gassed. They had run the ball with some success. I thought they could have got it, running the ball. But the other reason I didn't like the call is it was basically a one read. He was taking all the Chiefs' advantages. He was taking off the table because now Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Watkins wasn't in the game. It was Demarcus Robinson, Damian Williams. Those are all decoys now. And Patrick Mahomes is not allowed to use his athleticism to make a play like he did on a 3rd down earlier when he kind of shimmied around and found Demarcus Robinson for that play. You guys remember that one? Yep. And it was a one read. If I'm right about the play call, it's going to work. And if I'm not, it's got no chance kind of thing. That's the other part that I didn't like. Because once Tennessee covered Blake Bell and didn't fall for it.
Play was over.
That play had no chance.
Yeah. Nothing really to add there. I mean, I think it's a totally legitimate criticism that it wasn't a great play call. It's been very interesting to see what they've had happen late in games, right? They don't go for it 4th and 3 against the Packers, never get the ball back. They do go for it 4th and 1 against the Colts. I'd say you could call that kind of an uninspired play call, but maybe if Cam Irving blocks Justin Houston, it's a better play call. And then this. So, the interesting part about it to me is, in the end, it had the same effect as a run stopped, right? I mean, it wasn't disaster, but it was not really grabbing the opportunity. It was sort of backing into, maybe we can do it this way instead of being a little bold, and maybe that hurts them in the long run. It still forced the Titans to use their last time out.
They were still in field goal range.
Still 61 yards away. They were still, the Titans were still 61 yards away if you don't make the field goal, which of course they didn't make. And so didn't drive me nuts, but I mean, you just thought, where's that brain power? I want to, go full harness on this and see what you got.
Yeah, I mean, I always, I've said this before, but sometimes I think about, if you're on the other side, what do you hope happens? And if I'm the Titans, like, man, I hope they tried to get the ball to Blake Bell or something.
As their only option.
Right. That's a great way to frame it.
That would be good for us.
Yeah.
All right. We'll have more to say about this on Thursday, as I said, from Big O Tires, when we'll be joined by Herbie Teope and Sam McDowell. For now, Sam Mellinger, Vahe Gregorian, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, man.
Links to Chiefs stories can be found in the show notes on kansascity.com and on the Red Zone Extra app. Thanks to producers Derek Donovan and Leah Becerra for putting together today's episode. And hey, Matt Okonga, thanks for the shout out in the comments section on Apple Podcasts. Really appreciate that. We'll be back on Thursday for another episode of SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City on a daily basis.